Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you very much for joining us today. So I'm James Philpott from the European Digital SME Alliance, and I'm here with Davide Carino, who is my colleague here. We coordinate Digital SME's Working Group Cyber, and this event is being organized on cybersecurity certification and simplification, and I'm pleased to say that we have some really interesting and expert speakers with us today. So we're organizing this event in the context of the revision of the Cybersecurity Act. So this is looking at the impact of cybersecurity certification, the possibility of simplifying cybersecurity legislation, and also an ESEF mandate. And I'm sure we'll be hearing more about this later on. So we thought we wanted to organize this to consider the SME perspective. How are these topics relevant to SMEs? What's the particularities that affect SMEs, and what can be some of the challenges, but also what are the benefits to SMEs from cybersecurity certification? How can recent cybersecurity legislation be made a bit more SME friendly? And so that's what we'll be looking at discussing today. As we can see, if we can go through the agenda, we have a packed agenda today. As I said, expert speakers, so I'm really looking forward to it. But before we get started, I'd just like to run through a few items of housekeeping. So the event will be recorded. If there's any comments or discussions that you don't want included in the recording, please let me know and we can take this out. But this will be shared publicly after the event. So just to let you know, and of course, we're happy to remove anything that you don't want shared. Secondly, at the end of each presentation, there'll be an opportunity for a discussion and a Q&A. So either you can raise your hand at that point and we can unmute you, or there is a Q&A option in the menu bar and you can enter your questions there during the presentation, and then we'll be able to discuss them afterwards. And finally, just a note on the Digital SME Alliance and our Working Group Cyber. So this is where we gather cybersecurity SMEs and expert practitioners. And we discuss all topics relating to cybersecurity, so certification, legislation, cybersecurity tools and guides, and also threats and funding opportunities. And of course, this is focusing on SMEs. So for more information on this, you can visit Digital SME's website. The link is on the screen here to learn a bit more about the work we do with cybersecurity for SMEs. So for now, I think we'll jump straight into it. I'm very happy. We have two representatives from ENISA, Philippe and his colleague Vicente. They may both be under the same name, but they're both here to discuss the EUCC, so the certification scheme, and its relation to the Cyber Resilience Act.
Okay, hi everyone. So I'm the real Philippe. The colleague Vicente has spoofed my name. This is terrible. So I will first start talking about the EUCC, but even before that, talk about certification more generally, what schemes we are developing, then focus on EUCC, and then I will leave the floor to Vicente to present the EUCC CRA interplay. So let's start with the general process. So I hope you see my screen. So
it's not in presentation mode. I don't know if we need a.
It's not?
No.
It should be. Is it better?
No, it's still in editing mode.
Okay, let's stop sharing and reshare. Okay, and now is it better?
In editing mode, I'm afraid.
Okay, I'm sorry, I cannot make it. So I will not spend your time trying to match with Zoom, which is another of the multiple apps we are using or not. So the goal of this slide is to highlight the process of developing certification schemes and how SMEs could be involved into the process. So each time there is a scheme development, there is kind of more or less the same process to have the scheme developed with phases that allow consultation of experts. First, there is a document that sets the scene, which is the Neurolingual program, which has been established with the support of the stakeholder certification group that represents the private sector mostly, including SMEs, CAPs that do certification and evaluation activities, testing, and so on, and also the member states, which are gathered under the ECCG. Based on this contribution, the European Commission has adopted a Union Rolling Program, which indicates which schemes could be developed. For each of the schemes that are in these documents, or every other scheme that the Commission wants to have a scheme, there is a request that is done to ENISA to develop a scheme. Prior to that, we have introduced recently the concept of feasibility study that allows to investigate in advance about what would be the difficulty of establishing a scheme. And we've done it for managed security services, which has, and this outcome has been used for the Commission to establish a request on a European scheme. So once we receive a request, there is a call for ad hoc working group, and here is typically where the participants of today's that are in charge of some of the activities related to either developing products, offering services that are related to the scheme could apply. So when there is a call for ad hoc working group, the red part, and that will soon happen for managed security services. This would be an opportunity for you to apply and contribute to the development of the scheme. And then the scheme will be drafted, and we will go for a public consultation. That will be a second chance for you to participate by commenting what has been developed by ENISA. Then the candidate scheme will be submitted to the member states, to the ECCG for opinion, and then once an opinion has been adopted, transformed by Commission into implementing regulation that have possibly transition phases before first certificates can be emitted. So the EUCC has been adopted and first certificates have been emitted. The advanced scheme just after that is EUCS and on cloud services. Then we have one on 5G that covers two items, the EUICCs that are the secure element that host the eSIM profiles but can also host wallets, so chips that are in your smartphones. For this, we didn't develop a new scheme, but we developed specifications, and we have worked on EU NESAS, which is a transposition of the GSMA NESA scheme that deals with 5G network equipment. The current development is on EU DI wallet, so the wallet that will be a mandatory obligation for each member state to have certified, and then there will be a EU scheme that will take over more or less the entirety of national certification, but not fully because there will be still other activities under national evaluation. And for that we have started the work a couple of months ago, and as I said, the MSS Managed Security Services is just starting. So when it comes to the next presentation, I will briefly give on EUCC. Okay, so I'm not sure whether your community is familiar with EUCC, and I will present a bit. So I see in the chat some questions, so I will answer a bit after that. So on EUCC, the main characteristics of the scheme. So EUCC is based on a common criteria, an ISO standard. And this is the European way to do business about common criteria. It's about the how to certify, not the what. So the what to certify is left to the communities that want to set the requirements for categories of products. For example, there is a community that deals with distribution of electricity, and they have developed their own smart smart meter gateway protection profile, which sets the requirements for this category of products that will be then assessed against common criteria. So there are lots of such specifications which are called protection profiles, which are either European, national, or international. We can certify products and also protection profiles, these specifications, so that when having this specification certified, we can easily use them for the certification of the products. We have two assurance levels where the CSA offers three. So basic, substantial, and high are the three offered by CSA, but we discussed with the other working group and decided also with the member states that CC was targeting the levels substantial and high, and that basic was a bit below what as compared to what you can obtain through CC. We have also set requirements for the conformity assessment bodies concerning which can be considered as two entities within the scheme, the certification bodies and also the labs that will perform the evaluations. And for the two categories, we have defined requirements for their accreditation, authorization, and notification. We have introduced a certification validity of 5 years and developed mandatory monitoring and vulnerability management requirements. The CBs that do assurance level high certification will be peer assessed every 5 years. So this is a legal text that has been adopted via the process I was explaining before, that is published on the Journal Officiel of the EU, and also we have supporting documents that interpret the scheme and provide either state-of-the-art documents, which are for mandatory application, or guidelines that are there to illustrate. For example, there are state-of-the-art documents that say how to accredit an IT SEF or a CB. And there are guidelines on vulnerability handling. Guidelines may become later applicable as mandatory documents, but in the meantime, they are as guidelines, so just for your consideration. What is important to understand is that a certification scheme is a living scheme. So there has been already one amendment of the scheme, and there is a second one under adoption.
Philippe, sorry to stop you. It doesn't seem like your slides are changing. I don't know if you have intended to move off the slides. Or,
yeah, of course.
It's still on the first one.
Oh my God, sorry. So I don't know what to change. So maybe I will share my entire screen, but which is it any better? Okay. So what I was mentioning, so the two documents types, state-of-the-art documents and guidelines. The scheme is a living scheme, so there are amendments, yearly amendments, let's say, that concern both the the core part of the scheme, but also the supporting documents. The scheme has interplay with multiple EU law, such as the digital wallet, which is also becoming a scheme, the CRA, and we will focus on that, 5G, because we will use, as I was mentioning, certification of against EUCC to do EU ICC certification. And managed security services can also use EUCC certified products, for example, files or whatsoever that could be used for detection activities or whatsoever. Maintenance is key because I was mentioning the scheme is a living scheme. So we have established with European accreditation the possibility to update the requirements that will apply on the cabs to be notified. We also have established we are establishing currently a liaison with the ISAC that has been established and created for the purpose of supporting the maintenance of EUCC, and which is composed of industry players mostly that want to take part to this maintenance. So be it to maintain general methodologies, how to interpret common criteria, or attack management groups that set the bar. So what do you understand being this or that assessment level? And also PP management group that will help to develop better protection profiles. This is also a way for your community to join, because this ISAC is open to the companies that develop products, but also perform certification activities like certification or evaluation. We also have developed activities on cryptography. The goal is to try and harmonize this play field, which is not regulated by EUCC itself. So we have developed guidelines that were adopted, and the latest version 1.4 of agreed cryptographic mechanism is now being adopted and covers post-quantum crypto. So it's important element also for your community to consider whenever they estimate they want to reach the goal of being certified to cover national markets. It's good for them to consider compliance to ACM as a way to comply also to PQC possibly. And everything is on our website. I suggest I try to answer quickly to the questions that are in the chat before I pass the floor to Vicente. Okay, so is there a scheme for AI system? The answer is not yet. There is no such scheme foreseen. We were just investigating on what would be the complexity of assessing AI, the security of AI. Is it easy to certify AI using, for example, protection profiles for EUCC or extension profiles for the cloud? Or do we need something else? And the answer is it depends really on the use case. So this is something that we have developed in terms of competence, internal competence of ENISA. Currently there is no requirement to have an AI scheme for any scheme for AI systems. So that's it. Vicente, the floor is yours. And
one moment, we have a question, I think, from Anton. He had his hand up.
Oh, sorry.
Just allow him to. Anton, I don't know if you're able to unmute yourself to ask your question. Okay, perhaps not. Maybe we come back to it then. Okay, so thank you very much, Philippe.
And sorry for the slides not working.
Oh, no problem, not a problem.
Vicente, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Let's see if my slides work in full screen. Are you seeing the slide?
Not yet. We see that you've started screen sharing.
Let me know. No?
Still waiting, unfortunately.
Let me try to send up something went wrong. Please close all browsers and rejoin the meeting. Let me try again. No?
Now it's working. There we go.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so thank you for inviting us to present. So a little bit of the background, as Philippe have already mentioned about the UCC. Then we got a request by the Commission in July 2023 to do this interplay study of how can we demonstrate presumption of conformity of the UCC certificates with the CRA. Okay, so the first thing that we want to share is that we don't want to push anyone to go for a UCC certificate if they want to have conformity with CRA. What we are doing is an analysis is if you are already used to do common criteria certificates to get the benefit of having a UCC certificate, then you can demonstrate your presumption of conformity or compliance with the CRA. Okay, so this is one of the first things that we want to make it clear. So we are not looking to push everyone to go to work for a CC certificate to be compliant with the CRA. Okay, we know that the big difference of the cost of the UCC is much higher than what will be really needed for the CRA. Okay, so then we have this request to start with this study in July 2023. One of the first things is by that time, not the UCC, not either the CRA were final documents and final legislation. So we started a study with the draft candidate schemes and draft candidate of CRA. So we did the first analysis report. We shared it with the communities, and we had a workshop. And the communities that we use for the first feedback is the ones that already Philippe have presented. So one is the SCCG, the cybersecurity certification stakeholders. So it's the group by the industry with the big alliance on the industry. And the other one is the ECCG. So it's the group that the representative of the National Cybersecurity Certification Authorities of the member states are composed. No, so they are there. So we shared it already in November, and we had a workshop with them. And then we did the update. By July 2024, we had a second version, we changed it a little bit because what we discovered in the first draft is that we were going very into the deep of the details of the interplay. And both communities are quite different. So we discovered that the people that know about the CRA, they didn't know about UCC. And the people that knows about UCC, they didn't know about CRA. So if I invite you to read the study, at least the first chapters, because it's a really training way to know a little bit better both worlds. So if you are an expert in one of the worlds, this will allow you to know better what are the other worlds and how they interplay. So by September 2024, we almost received all the feedback of this second draft. And then finally, we have the final version and the once into force of the CRA and the UCC. So then we did a last review, and then we do the final publication of the study that you can download from the NISA certification website. We did the publication by January 2025. So the last slide of Philippe was about the NISA certification website, but I think he didn't sell it as much as I will do it. So I invite you to join this website. So there you can see the study, Also, last week, we did a focus webinar also on this interplay that is much more technical than what we are presenting today of the interplay. So if you really want to have a more technical details, I invite you to go to the ENISA certification website. And in the reports of analysis, you can download this study and interplay. And also you will have the full slides that we did the last week and also the recording. So you can have the recording of all this interplay with more technical details. One of the points that we raised in the study is that we have a really good window of opportunity to do the update of the protection profiles that Philippe was mentioning before. This is because the protection profiles need to be compliant with the common criteria regulation. Right now, most of them are compliant with the CC 3.1, but the end of use will be by December 2027. You cannot start to do a certification but based on that CC 3.1, and you need to change it to CC 2022. So based on this window opportunity, we want to liaison with the industry that are owners of these protection profiles to, at the same time that they do this update to the CT 2022, to take into a look and have inside the requirements that are needed to be also obtain the presumption of conformity with the CRA. Okay, so this is why we have this window opportunity. And then how are we taking this window opportunity? Okay, we did a study and we are looking what are the protection profiles that are more used in the industry, and also we look how the market works. So this what we are focusing a lot in the protection profiles because 76% of the product of the certifications are using a protection profile. So that's why we want to focus on the update of the protection profiles. But although I will explain later, we also will provide guidance to the ones that certify without the use of the protection profiles. Okay. Also, one of the things that we will need to look is into the alignments of the CAPs with the national bodies and the requirements of them under the CRA. This is a work we're also doing, and we will address it in the future months. Okay. To have a little look into what we have in the study. No? So in the study, what we have done is we have looked into the CRA, and then we are looking into the essential security requirements of the CRA, ESRs, and then we are mapping them with what we have in common criteria, that we have the SFRs and SARs. So in the study, you will have a proposal for one of the big protection profiles to see with the SFRs and SARs that we have in place, what are the essential security requirements that are requested by the CRA, and how can we map it? And this is the proposal. Later, I will explain how we want to pilot this so we can develop a guidance. Okay, a little bit what we address and what we think that need to be also very look, and let's see how we will be able to solve it. And is when the terms of evaluation scope is less than the full product. On this, we have a proposal as with this security target terms of evaluation, we can assure that the full product is secure. But this is not something that we need to pilot. The same of when there is a cloud components, we still need to address what is the remote data processing requirements of the CRA. We are still on discussions. How far do we need to go? Although we may propose different solutions, so this is also part of the pilot, and the same happens with the risk assessment. So how to close these gaps that we have seen? We will see these. This is what we say with the UC3 certification. As we don't cover all the essential security requirements, maybe we can propose to update the security program definition that is at the beginning of the certification. Also, when the terms of evaluation is smaller of the scope, we might propose to enlarge the terms of evaluation, or just update the SPD to demonstrate that the known tool is also secure. And then the solutions that are not included in the remote data processing, these we still need to really work on them. So what is important to present is what we want to do now. We want to do 10 pilots in the future months, and actually we are really tight on timelines because we want to start the pilots now in July. So in 2 weeks we want to start doing pilots. We are looking into, I will present a little bit better the timelines, but so from these 10 pilots, and I say we will look for 2 of them at least on products that don't use certification protection profiles. Okay, so at least 2 or 3 will be for pilots without using the protection profiles, but most of them will be pilots using protection profiles because, as I said before, 76% of the industry is using protection profiles. So that is where we want to focus. Okay, so these are the objectives. And the final objective of the study is to provide and develop a guidance in case that you don't use a protection profile, how you can, or if you, or also for the protection profiles, what are the more suitable SFRs and SARs to use to comply with the different essential security requirements of the CRA. So on timelines, for this work, we are going to have a contractor. We haven't done the kickoff and was expected to be on the 23. We are going to be a little bit delayed, but it's maybe 1 week. So everything on the pilot selection will start a little bit later, but we want to be kicking off the pilots by mid-July. So we have full July, August, and September to work on the pilots. The idea is that we have this contractor. We are going to create a community with the pilotings. We will be sharing the knowledge. We will be sharing. We have proposed to have like a month weekly meeting with all the pilots to share what are the problems and to look into the gaps that we need to, that we have presented before. And of course, if there are more issues, also we will share that with that community. And then we want to have a final workshop by October with all the pilots to have and to do the update of the guidelines. And then we will try to publish the guidelines again, and let me share it again in the ENISA certification website. So if you are the owner of one of protection profiles, or you are certifying products using CC without a protection profile, and you are interested to be part of this piloting, I invite you to contact us. Here is our email, certification@enisa.europa.eu. And I invite you to contact. Once we publish the call, and this is going to be probably next week or maximum in 2 weeks, we will do a public call for piloting. So if you are interested to be one of the pilots, be updated in our website because we will publish the call there. And also we will try to send it to all the stakeholders that we know or have already contacted us. So I invite you to join our website, contact us if you are interested in piloting with us. And this is all from me. I don't know if there is any questions, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Vicente. There are a couple of questions in the chat. I'll just read them out. So the first is whether the protection profiles developed by the ISAC will be freely available, whether they will be aligned to new legislation such as the CRA, which does not exactly align other than with ISO 15408.
So this one is more for Philip.
Yep, indeed. So the protection profiles are not developed by the ISAC. The ISAC may develop protection profiles, but the ISAC mostly will help to support the development of protection profiles by providing templates, helping the community develop protection profiles. But again, the community that is using certification as a way to require security in some categories of products, or to assess their products against cybersecurity requirements. These communities are the ones that develop protection profiles. For example, SMIC I was mentioning is supporting the development of protection profiles on smart meters gateway, and this is not within the ISAC. The ISAC, however, may develop some of them, especially those related to smart cards. So, for example, PP84 that sets the requirements for the chips that are used for smart cards evaluations, indeed are maintained by these guys. The PPs will be certified, and as such, they will be made available on the ENISA website. So the protection profiles and their certification reports will indeed be published on the ENISA website as they will be certified. This is the first part of the question. The second part is CRA compliance of the PP. That's exactly the goal of the study that Vicente was highlighting, that we have mapped CRA to EUCC or the other way around. And we want to use the opportunity that people will update their protection profiles based on the new version of the common criteria to see if, by the way, they could also embark CRA requirements so that the PPs could both meet the new CC version and CRA requirements. For that purpose, we may establish, so we may have updated protection profiles. We may have also functional packages or assurance packages that are developed as well. We don't know yet. That's the purpose of the study and its implementation through the updates of the protection profiles or of individual security targets to see how it can work. The second question is it is known that presumption of conformity with CRA could be obtained through harmonized standards. Compliance with UCC would be a parallel route to demonstrate compliance with CRA. I don't know whether Matusz, you want to illustrate that, or I can provide at least the ENISA understanding. So indeed, there will be harmonized standards, horizontal and vertical. So for the products that are in Annex 2 and 3, there will be vertical standards developed, harmonized standards, and for all categories of products, possibly horizontal ones. A product that wants to achieve CC certification, EUCC certifications for which a protection profile has been updated to cover CRA requirements, then will benefit from presumption of conformity to the CRA. That would be the goal. And doesn't need then to use the harmonized standard because the PP that has been updated or that is complemented by another functional package assurance or functional package established through the common criteria. So it doesn't need to repeat the operation of going through harmonized standards compliance because the Commission would have then indicated by a dedicated regulation that this way to do CC evaluation would be sufficient to cover CRA requirements.
Okay, thank you very much, Philippe. I have one more question. It was about the ad hoc working group on managed security services that you mentioned, and I think you said that there would be a call for members open soon, or it already is open. I'm just wondering kind of profiles you're expecting in that group are and what the work of the group would be to do, because this is something I think our members would be interested in looking at potentially joining, because if they can help develop certification schemes and provide the SME perspective, I think that's very useful. So just if there's some more information about that available.
So the call, so we are having a management board today of ENISA that will confirm the way we plan to develop the MSS scheme. So based on that, we will launch the call. We have prepared the terms of reference. And then there will be application forms for your members, so we can, if you wish, everything will be available on the ENISA website that we really invite you and your members to follow. I will also advertise that on LinkedIn, of course. And it should happen rather soon. It has to go through internal processes, of course, but the goal is to create ASAP this group.
Okay.
And in terms of competencies, so we want to have people that are good at doing incident management, because this is one of the first vertical that we want to develop, especially incidents detection, incidents response, pen testing, SOCs, these kinds of features, be it by delivering these services or being in charge to assess these services. That would be the first target of the scheme we want to develop.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. That's certainly something that we'll be sharing with our members.
Yeah, good.
Okay, so I don't see any more questions coming from the floor. So thank you very much, Philippe and Vicente.
Thanks for your interest. I'm not sure we can attend to the full discussion because we have other commitments, but it was great to have this opportunity to have this interplay with you. So thanks again for your invitation. We are looking forward to getting more interplay with you and have your community involved in our activities.
Thank you very much for joining us. Yeah, and I hope so too. I think there's a lot more we can be working more on in the future.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, so next up we have Nuriel Carrillo Mises, who is the technical director for the cybersecurity certification in Atlas Laboratories, which is the Spanish conformity assessment board. So she'll be explaining a bit to us about the EUCC and how that's going in the uptake.
Yeah, thank you. Can you hear me well?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good.
very good, very good. Okay, so welcome everyone, and yeah, thank you for inviting us to this webinar. So today we will be giving our point of view from the CAP perspective. So we were asked to dive into the role that conformity assessment bodies play in the cybersecurity certification. And as well, we would like also to reflect the practical lessons from the implementation and the use of the UCC scheme under the current EU CSA, the Cybersecurity Act. So let me share the screen. Let me see if you can see the slides. So I will try to put.
Yeah.
Can you see full screen right now?
Yes.
Okay, good. So, well, first of all, I think that some of the topics have been already touched by questions or by clarifications from ENISA. So I will try to jump some of the parts that maybe to not repeat the same story. Okay. So this presentation I divided in three different parts. So first of all, for the ones that doesn't know A+, I would like to give you a very brief introduction on what is A+ and what is our position in the certification landscape. Then we'll move to the core role of the conformity assessment bodies and yeah, the role that we developed in the UCC scheme. And finally, we think that it's important to wrap up with, let's say, with the most important lessons we've learned during this working with the UCC. Okay. So let's start with A+ in a glance. So for the ones that doesn't know us, A+ is a leader in inspection, testing, and certification. We are more than 26,000 people in 2023, and we are present in more than 66 countries. So we are mainly divided in 4 divisions: energy industry, laboratories division, automotive division, and media division. And when it comes to the cybersecurity services, we can say that we are inside of this, we are a department inside of this laboratory division. that works for this testing, certification, and evaluation of cybersecurity products. So just to talk a little bit of what is our department doing and some numbers, our laboratories have more than 200 cybersecurity experts around the world. We're an accredited lab for more than 30 security certification schemes. And in fact, we have presence in North America, Europe, and Asia. We have already incorporated also in A+ GRAP the JTSEC and the Lightship. JTSEC is in Granada, and Lightship Security belongs to North America territory. Additionally, we are not just following the standards, but we also collaborate with regulatory and policy bodies such as ENISA and SCCG Group, trying to shape the upcoming cybersecurity frameworks. For example, we are contributing to the development of schemes for the EU Digital Identity Wallet and EU 5G as well. So, okay, one can think, so we are going to see what is the relation of A+ with the UCC. A+ is an ITSEF and a CV, so it's a CAP, accredited and notified for substantial level. Okay, we are a private CAP. Now we are going to see a little bit the stakeholders. I think that Philippe has already introduced very well the UCC, but just to make a quick reminder. And for the ITSEF part, we are accredited and authorized to do substantial and high under the Dutch and Spanish NCCAs. For the ones that are more or less familiar with the common criteria, evaluation and methodology, as you know, the CSA defines 3 different levels, which is basic, substantial, and high. UCC, it's not covering basic level, but it's covering substantial and high. So here in this diagram that you see here in the center, there's a mapping with the specific ABABAN components, which mainly corresponds to the attack potential, or how sophisticated or how difficult are the attacks. So the higher level, the more resistant it's the product against these specialized attacks, right? So we have substantial map to ABABAN 1 and 2, and high from ABABAN 3 on till ABABAN 5, okay? So let's move to what is our role as a CAP. To start with, when talking about the role of the CAP, we always like to talk about the environment and all the stakeholders involved in the UCC scheme. So on the left, we have the NAB, which is the National Accreditation Body. This National Accreditation Body, as before, conducts accreditations for certification bodies, for ITSEFs under the international standards ISO 17065 and ISO 17025. But then there's other new stakeholders. On the right, we can see the NCCA, which really takes a new role under UCC. Basically, is an authority that works as a supervisory and monitoring. It does this kind of activities and also conducts the authorization for high assurance. Just as before, because we always like to compare this UCC with the former common criteria scheme, that it's quite mature because it has been here for some years right now. We have exactly the same structure. So we have a certification body, we have an ITSEF. The certification body, it's the one that reviews the evaluation and takes a decision. And if the decision is positive, so it issues this certificate, while the ITSEF performs the evaluation activities. It has the competence and the tools to do so. But this time there's a change from the former common criteria schemes and the UCC, which is that apart from the public CVs, we have also, they're appearing the private CVs, A+, it's one of the private CVs, we change up to substantial level, unless there is a specific authorizations from NCCA. But there's this additional change that UCC allows, where you will see that there is private CVs coming up, okay? So what is the role of a CAP? So as you can imagine, the CAP is a third party, so it's an independent organization that would review your design, it will evaluate the product, it will evaluate everything related or compared to a standard against a standard, in this case, common criteria and the related supporting documents. And it operates under the standards ISO 17065 with different with some specific scope on common criteria and additional competence standards, okay? So we always say that a third party always adds a layer of credibility because at the end it's performing this independent analysis, right? You can also check these links. I think it has also been provided by Philip and Vicente, but there's also a link on the Nando information system where you can check all the notified certification bodies and itself that can operate the UCC scheme. So what would be the common flow of certification? So as a CAP, there's a first stage. We can say that there's previous pre-certification activities, but when we go through a certification, we say always that we have like 3 main steps. The evaluation, where we assess the products, we perform the technical evaluations, testings, etc. By using our selected ITSEFs. Then we do the certifications where we review this evaluation and we are issuing the UCC certificates if the overall outcome it's positive. But finally, there's a stage that it's very important in the UCC because it really makes a change compared with former national common criteria schemes, which is this monitoring phase, which has been also advanced by ENISA. But I think it's very important to note that this constitutes a change because it means that when there's an issue of the certificate, it does not stop everything there, but there is continuous monitoring of the non-compliance and vulnerability monitoring. Sorry, give me 1 second, please. Thank you. It seems that the light was off. Not a lot of movement. Not a lot of movement in the room. Okay, can you see the screen again?
Yeah, that's working fine.
Okay. Let me come back to the previous slide. Okay, so yeah, I was saying that there is this monitoring phase which is new in this UCC scheme. So mainly as a CAP, we are assisting on the non-compliance and the monitoring. Okay, there is some obligations from the vendor side, from the manufacturers, as you know, to really monitor the vulnerabilities that may affect the product. But also there's some obligations from the CV to do this monitoring as well. So if we look to the whole certification process, we can start by the application. So there is an application form where you provide the security target. There is then the evaluation that it's mainly performed by the ITSEF, by the evaluation laboratory. Then we start the certification process, which is the review and the evaluation of the results from the ITSEF. So we thoroughly review the reports, check that everything is in line with the common criteria methodology. We take a decision, and then finally we issue the certificate. And then this phase of monitoring, where it can require a recertification to make this what is called assurance continuity, right? It can be a product which can be patched, for example, to solve different vulnerabilities that were detected during a previous phase. So we have the chance to do this recertification of the new version of the product that has been patched. So just in line what Vicente explains as well. So there is some vendors saying, okay, but UCC, it's really something that it's mandatory, it's voluntary, it's something that it will be requested somehow in the future. Well, UCC, it's voluntary. So it's not, if you don't need to engage to a UCC evaluation, you don't need to do it, okay? But then UCC, there are some situations where it can be suitable. For example, when final clients and regulations require this formal assurance against these, the common criteria methodology or the UCC. If you would like to have a third-party assurance to comply with other upcoming regulations, we've seen that, for example, CRA, and there is other interplay with other schemes where UCC can be used or reused to give this compliant or to the regulations and other schemes. If you need the cross-border recognition, of course, within the EU. And if usually if the product is using high risk context, for example, if there is government procurement, which has been also talked at the very beginning for defense, military, etc. So there is some context where this UCC it's required. So it is important to note, because I don't know how familiar are you with UCC, but UCC we are always having some key recommendations, which may sound obvious, but I think they are important to remind if you would like to engage with the UCC evaluation. So first of all, it's start early. So if you would like to go through a common criteria evaluation, this is not a matter of 2 or 3 weeks of work, it's more than this. So start early if you would like to engage, and invest on the documentation quality, because we've seen that if you have a well-structured documentation which can really map with the common criteria methodology, it significantly smooths the evaluation. So this would be the second recommendation, right? Then the third recommendation is be realistic about the assurance level. So don't aim to a high assurance level if you don't really need it, or if your product is not prepared to. So just select the level that matches your product maturity. And of course, if you have any condition at the end, so your final user or final client would like to have this common criteria, just make sure that you are not overreaching the assurance level. Then we've seen also that to have a dedicated coordinator or team, we can have this fluent communication with itself, with the certification body. It really streamlines the evaluation, because this communication and response can go even faster, which in common criteria it's always recommended to have. And then the last one, if you are not sure about your product readiness, of course, you can engage to make a gap analysis, the pre-evaluation that could help you to understand, or to put this thermometer to see what is your situation, or what is the situation of your product, and the maturity that have in order to pass with the aim to pass a common criteria evaluation. So finally, what are the UCC lessons learned? Well, in the UCC, compared with the former national common criteria schemes that we had before, we had a stricter, as a company, we had a stricter requirement on consultancy for itself, especially. So that means that we cannot provide consultancy anymore, even though there is independent teams and so on. So this was one of the lessons learned from the UCC, and they were part of the discussions as well. What we state before, so the UCC does not stop in certificate issuance. There is the vulnerability management and monitoring, which is crucial to guarantee the certificate continuity. And for that, please check the ENISA state-of-the-art documents, because there is guidelines on the vulnerability management and disclosure, where there is a kind of flow that you can check in order to ensure that your product really follows the UCC mindset on the vulnerability management and disclosure. I will leave you the link here. Not sure if you are going to share the slides, but it's important to note. And in Article 27, you can find the monitoring activities by the holder of the certificate. Okay, so there will be some description on these obligations from the holder of the certificate to make these monitoring activities. This is something you already talked about it. Vicente present as CRA and UCC interplay, which tries to bridge the gap between the UCC and the CRA. So mainly how with UCC can meet the CRA requirements. So this is a very important document, a very important study in my point of view to understand that there is some gaps that needs to be bridged from UCC to CRA. And as per you to know, there are communities that are already working on trying to see how to change these protection profiles to the to match the CRA requirements. Okay. So UCC is a tool. This is the message that I would like to give, but can be used for compliance to other regulations, such for CRA, provided it gets this presumption of conformity. We can have. So you don't need to make a conformity assessment regarding Module B and C and H if you already have, for example, the UCC for critical products, right? So there is mentions on the CRA on how that other CSA schemes can be used. Reminder, check out the state of the art of the UCC at the NISA website. They are really useful and well-structured documentation. And then finally, you could get the CCRA recognition with the UCC. There is some specific document also in the Common Criteria portal, which it's explored to be used to do some voluntary assessments to the private CVs in order to include the seal of CCRA on the certificate. Okay, I think this is also important. And that's all for my presentation. Thank you very much. I'm going to try to stop. Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much, Nuria. Really interesting. And I think also like the diagram there with the CRA and the EUCC overlaps. I think that's really important information. So this is something we'll be looking at a bit more for sure. I just open the floor now. If anyone from anyone in the audience has any questions? I don't see any in the chat, but if anyone wants to raise a hand. If not, well, while people are thinking, I had a question on the kind of market surveillance, the monitoring role. Is this, or does it have a lot of overlap with the market surveillance that's foreseen in the CRA? Are these similar, or is that a different kind of consideration and it's done by a different body?
Yeah, so you will see this in the study of the CRA and UCC, but the aim is that with UCC, you will be covering all the part of the vulnerability monitoring from the when the certificate is issued on, right? So in the study, it's also mapped how this vulnerability and monitoring from the UCC can be extrapolated to the CRA. So at the end, I guess, and this is something that Elisa can tell better than me, that the aim for this study is that we can have only one platform to, for example, report these vulnerabilities, or only a way to simplify these reporting obligations from the manufacturers, right? So yeah, I mean, in the UCC, this task, so there is obligations from the manufacturers, but of course we have some monitoring activities from the CV part, and there is a specific flow where we should communicate with other stakeholders, such as ENISA, when we find a specific vulnerability, and make specific study. But yeah, I think that the goal is to make everything consistent, so we don't have duplicating vulnerability management and monitoring differently in different schemes.
Okay, I think that would be very helpful. I guess that's also maybe part of the simplification work that the EC is looking at, to find a way to harmonize this as much as possible.
Hopefully.
I also had another question, and it's about kind of the market uptake of the certificates. Have you seen a lot of interest? Because given the sort of global context, perhaps there's more of an interest in European provided solutions and services, and whether or not certification is being used now as a way to demonstrate the quality of products. So I was just wondering if you've seen any change in the market and the uptake, and particularly from smaller companies, whether they're using certification a lot more.
If you're asking me for UCC, we are still in a very premature phase. So I would say that I cannot see any increasing at the moment. But of course, I think that if this UCC tool can be used to, there is an interplay with other schemes and can be used to give compliance with of the products with the different regulation, I think that this is something that can be raised up. But I think it's quite premature phase to say right now.
Okay, thank you. I don't think there's anything else coming from the audience. So thank you very much for your presentation. Really interesting, as I said, and something I think we're going to be following up on a lot is EUCC uptake and also the interplay with the CRA. So
yeah, definitely this would be the next step to follow up. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, now Davide, my colleague here, is going to be talking about the NIS2 and some work we've been doing to see how it can affect SMEs and the different aspects regarding relationships with suppliers. So over to you, Davide.
Thank you, James. So we have rightfully talked about the CRA, but it's also important to say that as a digital SME, we try to support SMEs with all directives, and that's why we focus on NIS2 as well. So when we talk about NIS2 and SMEs, of course, we have to think about that not many SMEs fall in scope of NIS2, of course, that meaning that not many SMEs represent critical infrastructure in our member states, but they do still exist. So we focused our public consultation that we sent out in the previous months to not only SMEs that are in scope of the NIS2 directive, but also to consultancies that are helping SMEs to become compliant to the NIS2 directive, and of course, the SMEs that belong to the supply chain of a NIS2 compliant entity. We have disseminated the survey to SMEs across Europe, and we had some interesting findings. Basically, we have one of the main findings is that many SMEs are aware of the directive because they, of course, fall directly into scope, but we have found that very few are acting upon it. So we have found like a stark divide, let's say, between SMEs that know what they are expected to do in order to be considered NIS2 compliant, and SMEs that are in scope but have not very do not have a clear idea on how to go forward in this path towards compliance. And that is also reflected when we interviewed consultancies, because we wanted to see how the people who are helping SMEs to become compliant, how they're faring as well. So what it has emerged from consultancies is that most consultants think that SMEs are trying to get in touch with consultancies to be compliant, but they kind of expect some kind of technical expertise that would completely replace any kind of diffusion of cybersecurity culture in small and medium enterprises. And that is something that it's kind of a double-edged sword, because of course, yes, you can reach technical compliance, but then you also need to reach a kind of a cultural compliance as well. Because the main goal of NIS2 is, of course, to secure critical infrastructure across member states, but it is also to make Europe more resilient, not only with the technical solutions that critical infrastructure can be equipped with, but also through the way they approach cybersecurity. So other than that, we also think that besides consultancies and SMEs that are in scope, the bigger let's say the biggest number of SMEs actually belong to supply chains of these two compliant entities. What does that mean? It means that SMEs now, if they want to do business with these two compliant entities, they need to respect some kind of requirements. But what are these requirements? Are these requirements clear? From our analysis, it is not that clear. We have found that there is a silence to be broken between suppliers and supplied. So this report made, let's say, it made very clear to us that SMEs need more support, not only if they're in scope, but if what happens with to SMEs when it comes to NIS2 and with supplying services to these entities. So that's why we will release this service soon, but also we have created a NIS2 guide for suppliers and for SMEs in general. So what happens when it comes to NIS2 compliance? We have tried to create a guide together with our experts that will reflect the actual need of SMEs. So what we are aiming at is giving practical examples to equip SMEs with checklists, with controls from ISO standards that could be useful. And we wanted this guide to kind of be a compass for SMEs to give the right direction so that their path can be compliant. So what I would suggest the participants would be to stay tuned, because this report and the guide will be out very soon, and we will be, of course, available for whatever inquiry about it. And I think that briefly, that's it regarding NIS2 in our work.
Great, thank you very much, Davide. And yeah, just to reiterate, I think there's a lot of very interesting findings in here, and we'll be sending it out soon. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. And next we have Antonio Grasso, who is our policy director, and he's just going to be talking about an initiative we're running to gather a catalog of European solutions. So Antonio, over to you.
Thank you so much, James, and good afternoon to everyone. I wanted to first and foremost put this discussion and this presentation about the catalog of European solution in perspective and in the context of the very interesting presentations that we have witnessed today, and especially in relation to the policy initiatives that the European Commission has presented in the beginning of this meeting, because at the end of the day, these initiatives, including the revision of the Cybersecurity Act and the assessment of the cybersecurity scheme, are responding to a need that is becoming more and more evident, especially in the current geopolitical landscape, which is to strengthen the digital sovereignty of the European Union and to build a more integrated solutions when it comes to technologies and digital innovation that can make the continent more independent and resilient to external shocks. So within this picture, we have been promoting since years by now, and more recently, even with more determination, a strong stance of the European digital SME on tech sovereignty and on the need to double down on the European Union capacity to invest in homegrown tech solutions to gain on independence and competitiveness on the global setting. So it is with this type of aim that we are now about to launch an initiative of a catalog collecting existing European solutions that are already there, that are available on the market. Some of them might be also on the verge of market leadership and can be used by the European innovation ecosystem as alternatives to make the European innovation ecosystem, the European businesses, more independent and less let's say, locked in solutions that are provided by a few non-European hyperscalers. So the aim of this catalog is indeed to collect existing solutions, to provide an assessment and a contribution via these solutions to the objective of the European digital strategic autonomy, and to identify the remaining challenges that are there for these solutions to gain more efficiency and to also federate in a way that can respond to the needs in the market. So there is we are proposing this catalog with a number of experts, entities that are helping us to frame the feature of this catalog in order to select the solutions that can respond to these needs. So these experts are helping us to develop an assessment methodology which will serve to indeed evaluate the solutions that will be submitted by companies from across Europe to fill in the catalog and indeed to respond to criteria that include the capabilities of the solutions, the capacities of the solution, and the control that European companies have on this solution. So indeed, we have already formed a basically governing board of experts that will take care of assessing the solutions that will be submitted by companies to form this catalog. And if we go to the next slide, indeed, we are planning to open the submissions to indeed be selected and be part of this catalog by the end of June. Actually, very soon, indeed, we will open this in collaboration with those experts that are helping us to basically shape the form of this catalog. And we are hoping that after receiving the solutions submissions, we will be able to launch this catalog and provide an initial step towards ideally form a kind of marketplace of European solutions that can serve for giving more visibility, for boosting demand for these European solutions, and create a market-driven initiative that can show that there are alternatives on the market to the dominant technological solutions that are currently provided by hyperscalers and that are holding the potential of technological leadership of Europe back. And of course, holding this potential back is not something that we can continue to observe and support in a context that is highly volatile from the geopolitical perspective at global level. So this is the aim of this catalog. You are, of course, welcome to keep in touch with us and to send us any request you might have for more information, in particular by contacting my colleague who is taking care of the organization of this catalog. It is Philip Adatic. You see his email on the slide. But we are all available for any further information and clarification on this initiative, and you will likely hear from us indeed by the end of June, where we plan to launch really the opening of submissions for this catalog. So that's it from my side, and we really hope that this initiative can be another step to strengthen European technological sovereignty and leadership over the next months. Back to you, James, and many thanks for this very interesting meeting.
Great, thank you very much, Antonio. Yep, and just to reiterate, we'll be sharing more information about this and also Philip's email in the follow-up to the meeting, so you can kind of contact us through that. One last thing to share before we go, there is a funding opportunity open. So we've heard a bit about the CRA today and the certification, but also we are working on the standards as well to support the implementation of the CRA. So you may notice here that the funding call closes on the 20th of June, which is obviously the end of this week, but there is an 8th round of funding opening next week on Monday. So the idea behind this project, CyberStand, is that it funds experts in cybersecurity to join either ETSI or Sensenelec and the working groups that are developing the standards for the CRA, and so it funds participation in these groups. So as I mentioned, there is another round opening up next week. So if you want to go to the website and check out the different activities and the different standards that are being developed under this, we highly encourage you to do so. And don't worry about the deadline of this week, because there's another one open. So now, just if there are any last questions from the floor on these last few topics, I'll give you some space in case you want any more information on any of those. It doesn't seem so. I don't see any hands raised. So in that case, I'd just like to say thank you very much to all our speakers today, and thank you everybody for joining. And we hope that this was an interesting session for you. And we'll be following up with the presentations shortly. So I wish you all a good afternoon and say goodbye.